This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Hello, everybody. Pumped for another episode of The Basketball Show. Hammer, you're alone there in the studio. How are you?
I'm feeling very lonely, but I want to hear some stories, Joe. You're in Vegas. You're on the Strip. Talk to us. You look pretty good considering you rolled in at 6 this morning.
Hammer, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know that. I know you do. How has the week been, though? You good?
Yep, all good. All good. Ready for this show. So much to talk about. NBA happening. NBL's in full swing. We won't talk about the WNBL this week, but that's all good.
No, exactly. I'm not looking forward to getting to the tipping section of this program. Our crystal gazing may as well be ripped up. We were all so bad this past round. But we'll get started with our TCL starting five. Thanks also to our sponsors, TCL, of course, 2K and Bet with Joel, and you can see us across News Corp, Kayo, and Twitch. Let's get into it. Now, obviously, I'm on the other side of the world, but that doesn't mean that Dave doesn't send me through his headlines for our starting five. The league gets jack-jumped is number one. The JackJumpers have won 4 games in a row. What on earth is going on?
Well, I copped a little bit on Twitter from a couple of the JackJumpers fans yesterday saying, are we going to get some love? Well, of course you're going to get some love. It's the second best winning streak of the NBL, apart from Melbourne United, who won 8 straight. So, you know, but at the end of the day, you've got to go earn the respect. And it's exactly what the JackJumpers are doing, beating good teams. That's a massive win against Melbourne United on the road, and that'll give them a whole lot of confidence. Yeah,
it's awesome. And to think that it all started with Scott Roth and that win over Adelaide and being so pumped and hyped about it. So, no, it is. It's
you
great
were bagging him. You were bagging him, and I loved his excitement, Jojo.
I wasn't bagging him. I just said it's not the kind of thing you see all the time. So it just made me, I guess, question what was behind it. Well, I was not bagging him.
Big win too against the Sydney Kings at home. They did a great job restricting their output and then to back that up on the road. So well done. Twitter followers, you actually got what you wanted.
I love that. Shaq and Ben Simmons, they've been at it a little bit on social media.
A little bit?
Well, yeah, it's
Shaq.
Kind of been bubbling along, hasn't it? Shaq sort of, I think, came out and called Simmons a crybaby for the standoff with Philly and not playing this year and throwing his toys out the pram and being soft and all that kind of thing. So apparently Ben has slid into Shaq's DMs because he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with the criticism. I feel like Ben's not in a position to say that to somebody of Shaq's caliber and everything that he's done in his career. It's just weird.
Well, the only thing Ben can do is prove him wrong by actually going and playing and then playing good basketball, which I think we all know he's capable of. And Shaq would be no different. Shaq knows that Ben Simmons, you know, his upside is he can be an all-star and a superstar. We know that. But you've got to play basketball, and sometimes things don't go your way, but you have to be able to suck it up and you've got to do the hard work. And Shaq's got every right to be able to say what he said. He toned it down a little bit, so it's been respectful, hasn't said everything that Ben Simmons said in his DMs. But, I like Shaq.
No, I like it too. I love that he kind of put a full stop on it. He was asked, would you call Ben as former LSU alumni, that kind of thing. He said, nope, I got nothing to talk to him about. I wish him all the best, but I don't really like what I've seen for him. That's it. So
fair enough.
Anyway, no, it's been good. It'll be interesting to watch how this plays out, especially with the trade deadline not far away. NBL and WNBL appeals this week. Matt Hodgson was given 3 games for that, the hit in the face on DJ Vasiljevic, although 2 of them were suspended. Now, that seems to me completely off. The NBL have also found it off, and they've actually gone and appealed the independent panel. That's right, isn't it?
Well, Derek Rucker called for 5. I said 3 or 4. I said based on the history of the NBL, he'll get 1 or 2. Well, he got 1. I mean, that's ridiculous. I will say one thing about Matt Hodgson and the Perth Wildcats. They came out. I like their apology. I like the fact that they came out hard and said it's not part of their culture, it's not who they stand for, and it was an important message. But what I like about the NBL is they've said, no, this doesn't stand, and now they've been able to throw this appeal against their own panel to be able to get what it probably should have been. And I tell you one thing, Basketball Australia can take a leaf out of the NBL's book. This is how you handle an appeal. When Basketball Australia had an appeal, we got a result this week, and I won't talk about the result because that's a whole nother story, but they handed down their result 8 weeks after the game. And based on what happened with Liz Cambage and this one, they need to get some solutions. But the NBL, well done for being able to act on this, and we'll probably get a result within a week like it should be.
Yeah, probably even sooner given the amount of games and how frequently they're coming. But yeah, I'm with you there. Now, Joey Ingles, we touched on it. It was this day last week that he went down on his knee. He's out for the rest of the season in a contract year, which is just the worst possible timing for him. But I feel like he's been amazingly positive and resilient, and he's sort of come out and said that his goals remain the same. He wants to still play in the NBA. How's that been for you? What have you made of the whole situation?
Oh, Joey's just so loved. And, I think from all the Australian public, but you look at all the Americans as well, he's got that great balance of he's a professional, but he's fun-loving. He talks a bit of trash. He's such a family man. His charities, all of the things that he does. And on top of that, he's a bloody world-class basketballer. And, I think everyone loves him, and you just want the best for him. And, he'll come back. The good thing about American sports is they value experience. We try and write our stars off as soon as they get to 30. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Oh, they're 30. Oh, their form's not good. Oh, are you going to get rid of him? In America, it's different. They value it. They value the locker room experience and that mindset. And he'll get another contract. He deserves it. And he'll play a great role. Let's
hope so. Now, your baby girl is over in Serbia for the World Cup qualifiers. Amazing to see her finally get a chance with the Opals. What's the word out of camp? How is everybody feeling?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's obviously pretty excited. I was disappointed that she didn't make the Olympics last year. So she's over there. She roomed with Steph Talbot, travelled next to Steph Talbot. So she got babysitting duties, poor old Steph Talbot.
I did see that in the aeroplane.
She got very excited. She had to FaceTime the family to say, oh my goodness, have a look at this, Dad. Have a look at this business class seat and how big it is. And do we get this or do we get that? So again, babysitting duties. But I was happy that she was paired up with Steph Talbot and smart by the Opals, because you get somebody that is a real pro that's been there and done it, and you take the younger ones under the wing. And so that's good, and it's exciting. So, some fresh faces. I was pumped to see Christy Wallace make that team after everything she's been through with knee reconstructions. She's an international player and an Opal of the future, no doubt about that. So that's good. Disappointed to see Nicholson not make it again. Surprised and shocked about that, as probably most WNBL coaches would be. But let's see how they go in the next 3 games. It'll be exciting.
Who have they got first up?
So they play a practice game against France. The first game is against Brazil. Then they play Serbia, which will be an interesting one. And then they've got Korea in the last game. So I think they've got 3 games in 4 days. So it'll be really interesting to see how Sandy uses this squad.
Yeah, can't wait for it. We'll have to get the inside update from you next week, Hammer.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks to 2K this week. We're going in depth with Perth Wildcats superstar Vic Law. Vic, thank you so much for being on the basketball show with us. You guys are coming off a massive win over Southeast Melbourne. You're top of the ladder as well. You must be feeling pretty good about where you are at this point in the season.
Yeah, I think we're all super excited about how things have been going, how we've been playing. Obviously, we have some distractions and some things that we wish were different, but, we're just taking it one game at a time and trying to focus on what we can.
Vic, I just wanted to get an understanding from you. Obviously, your season in Brisbane, you were fantastic last year, but you were playing for a team, haven't won a championship for a fair amount of time. What's the biggest difference for you going into a culture with a team like Perth that are used to winning championships and the most successful team over the last 20 years?
Yeah, I think that was a big reason why I wanted to come to Perth. I wanted to finally have the position where I could just soak up as much information from the guys around me, right? I just wanted to learn, come in and help the Perth organization as much as I could. I thought playing with Brisbane was great. Like, I love a lot of the Brisbane guys, and I think they're really building something special over there. But I thought in coming to Perth, being able to play with Bryce, Jesse, Mitch, a couple of other guys, it'd been really special for me to just come in here and continue to grow as a basketball player.
You're averaging 20 points a season, 20 points, per game this season, which is up on what you were with the Bullets last season. What about your game has changed or improved now that you're with the Wildcats?
Well, I think last year with Brisbane, even though I kind of had to adjust in playing more post-ups, didn't really shoot threes a ton and didn't really play on perimeter as much. And now with kind of Scott's free-flowing open offense, I still do post a fair amount, but now I'm able to step out and kind of play in space and play in the open where I feel I'm a little bit more effective.
Yeah, speaking of Scott, can you give us an insight about his philosophies and how he is to be able to work with? Probably feel a little bit more familiar, playing under an American coach?
I mean, I love Dre. I thought Dre's style was cool, and I got along with Dre really well. But, Scott's a great dude. I think when you respect your coach just so much, I think it, everything kind of flows better, even with the things you say that you don't really agree with, you're kind of okay, just sucking it up and then doing it. But, I think Scott has the ear of everybody in the locker room. He's kind of, a real freewheeling kind of guy. He's open to suggestion and man-to-man conversation. So I think everyone's really happy to have Scott on board and, kind of fit in with the Perth tradition.
He told me last week that he got on the Perth Scorchers bandwagon and has been immersing himself in Aussie sport and in particular cricket. Have you taken an interest in any of that kind of thing since you've been down here?
Yeah, I hate cricket, but I like AFL. I'm a Brisbane Lions fan.
Okay.
See, I love that.
You and Hammer are the same. He hates cricket too.
But I love the fact that he said that, because he's got some taste, this fella, because AFL is one of the greatest sports in the world. You would have been unbelievable at AFL, big fella.
Now, that's why I said I punted when I was playing football when I was younger. I think if I gained a little bit of weight and played AFL, I might be all right.
Oh, mate, with that athleticism, marking and kicking and tackling, you would have been awesome. Don't worry about that. What about the NBA? I feel like your upside, of being able to do what you do and the mobility and the toughness, I love the fact you play D and you make the team better across the board. That's obviously still a goal for you. And what sort of feedback have you had from teams and from your agent?
I think at this point in my life, in my career, I just want to go where I'm happy and where I can, progress the most as a man and a basketball player. I think you kind of got to control what you can control, right? And at the end of the day, if the NBA is what's calling and what's, asking for me, then that's great. And that's a blessing I won't turn down. But as of right now, I'm not even worried about that. I just want to focus on playing Melbourne United next and enjoying this NBL season as much as possible, because I don't want to take myself away from where I am. My feet are exactly where I'm at. And, that's what I want to focus on. In terms of feedback, I guess playing in some really, teams were really intrigued by kind of my position. I think a lot of people, even when being recruited in the NBL, were kind of asking what position did I want to play, or what position, do I think I fit the best in. And the best advice I've gotten was at a college, visit by Shaka Smart. And, he kind of asked me as a pretty high recruit, like, what position do you want to be? And of course I say guard. I want to have the ball, I want to shoot. And he called me an idiot. And, as a recruit, that's not usually what you hear. But he told me there are only two positions, that's on the court or on the bench. So I don't really care where the coach is going to put me. I don't mind how you're going to utilize me. You play your game when you're on the court. You can't really complain or moan about what position you are, not get enough shots if you're on the bench. So wherever Scott wants to use me, wherever I can help the team the most, that's where I'll be. And that's where I'll continue to excel.
Are there any NBA players or players around the world, I guess, that you try to emulate or that you can liken yourself to?
I think, it's easy for a lot of kids to say, I want to be LeBron or I want to be Kobe or, one of the star guys. But to be honest, I would really like to kind of just get on a team, find my niche and role, and kind of like the pathway that Jimmy Butler had. When he first got drafted by the Bulls, he wasn't Jimmy Butler. He was kind of a 3-and-D guy that had to find his role, find his niche, do the little dirty work things, and every year you get better and better, and then you finally get your opportunity to step up and show what you can really do. So, I'm not going to say that I want to be like LeBron, but I think, just getting my foot in the door and then figuring out my role from there.
The NBL is so close this year, and obviously the Perth Wildcats are always a chance to win the championship. So if we take you guys out of it, who do you think's the toughest team outside of you guys that have got the best chance to win a championship?
You take us out?
It's close. We're all struggling with this right now.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I don't want to give credit to anyone, so I don't want to say anyone. But if I had to, I'll say Melbourne United.
Yeah. Interesting.
Fair enough. Good. I like that. Don't want to give credit to anyone else. Good on you. Hey, Vic, thank
I'm
you so
super
much.
competitive. Everyone that
Yeah.
will play against the Wildcats and know number one out there, you're not getting shit easy from number one. But we'll see what else.
See, this is why I like him, Joe. This is the attitude of why I like him.
Vic, you can come back anytime.
Keep it up, mate. And we love what you're doing. And even playing for a Western Australian team, we like seeing you do well.
Thank you.
Hard for me to say. Good job.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Yes, time for the Lowdown. Maddie, hello to you. Now, you spoke about Aaron Baynes last week and the fact that he wants to return to the NBA. You've got a bit of insight this week as to whether he'll try and go straight back there, maybe through the G League, or perhaps whether the NBL is an option for him.
Yeah, guys, Baynes is pretty determined to get straight to the NBA. Given the injury and his layoff, it will be hard for him to just go straight in and get a guaranteed contract. And those are the words coming from Andrew Bogut. He's been there, he's done it before, he knows what it's like, and he wants to see Baynesy get back, but he believes that he would actually benefit from playing in the NBL before going back to the NBA, just to get some confidence for himself on the floor again. And what Bogut's hearing is that Baynes is, he's based around Brisbane. His kids are up there, and the more that Bogut digs around, he said that look, the bullets are firming. So that'd be, I think it'd be great not only for the NBL, but I think it'd be more importantly for Baynesy. That injury was serious, guys, and it would be really difficult to go straight to the NBA. And I think for him, the NBL, I'm sure we've seen it before with Bogues. I think it'll work.
Well, I do too. I think it's so difficult when you haven't played for a couple of years and you've dealt with a significant setback and injury just to be able to go straight to the NBA. I think you've got to build your confidence, get your base under you. The NBL is a perfect league. Stay at home, work with your family. And I hope he does get back to the NBA. That'd be a fantastic comeback.
Yeah, it certainly would. Matt, you mentioned Bogut there. It's not necessarily politics, but it looks like he could be on the BA board at some point.
Well, we are talking about Basketball Australia, so it's very political. He's actually said that he would be interested in listening to Basketball Australia about a board role. He's been approached in the past, but he's always been a little bit, you guys are quite bureaucratic, and I don't know that my honest ways would work. But Bogut, credit to him, he's actually got the sport's best interest at heart. He's seeing the sport make some pretty poor decisions, from the Canberra Capitals to Liz Cambage. And he's seeing players behind the scenes frustrated with how World Cups go down, the lack of professionalism. So he wants to jump in there. And look, as I know Shane's laughing because it's like, I don't know that one person is necessarily going to change BAs. We've seen that before. But the fact that Bogut is at least saying he wants to make a difference, I think we've got to listen to him. And I think more importantly, BA's got to listen to him.
I'm only laughing because BA's like government, like a council, the way it's run, the whole thing. Andrew Bogut would make massive changes to Basketball Australia and where everything's seen in this country. No doubt at all. He's the perfect person to be able to make change. The only thing is, I don't think that Basketball Australia could have him in the room and actually listen to the things he's saying based on their actions that we've seen for so long. And the Canberra Capitals, the Liz Cambage thing are the perfect examples, because if you've got someone in there that says what they think, has a business mentality, but also a player's mentality, you don't make these decisions.
And obviously more on the Basketball Australia board, guys. Recently, a decision that's taken 8 weeks, Shane and Joe, around the Canberra Capitals. You're directly involved, Shane, and I thought it was great to see the Flames coming out and asking BA to review their processes when it comes to the independent panel.
Well, I think the question has to be asked, doesn't it? I mean, everyone was pretty confused about the whole Cambage thing and, being stood down or however that happened. We really didn't get the full story around the Olympics and then how long it took with that process. So the independent panel, and after going through it, and being involved in it, I'm not going to talk about the result, but I think questions have to be asked and it has to be reviewed. Is this the right process to be able to go forward with? Or do they need to start making changes now? And, what do you think, Matty?
Oh, of course, there has to be change. But at the moment, Basketball Australia are adamant that under the current framework that they need an independent panel. The panel needs to make the decision, not Basketball Australia. But it's not working. So, and, it's got to change because there's too many big decisions being stuffed up.
That's an understatement that it's not working. Matty, thanks so much. Love your work.
Good on you, mate.
No worries.
Now, usually I love this segment of the show, but it kind of feels like we don't need to bother going through the leaderboard this week because I think nobody got more than 2 out of 6, which is absolutely ridiculous. Myself and Dee are on 32, Matty Logue on 31, and Hammer, you're bottom on 30. What is going on?
Well, thanks very much for that, Joe. I certainly haven't been as chirpy, have I, sitting on bottom of the ladder with director Dave. But I got the first game. It's the Illawarra Hawks taking on South East Melbourne. Now, I would have gone for South East Melbourne with all the COVID protocols and the coach not there and 4 players being affected in their last game. I'm not sure they will be able to get this done, but I say that with no confidence because I've been relying on the gorge factor for Illawarra to be able to bounce back every week, and something is missing at the Hawks, but I'm with them in a close one. Matty, you got game 2. South East Melbourne take on the Kings.
Yeah, Kings at home, Hammer. I'm going to stick with your Kings. You'll be happy to hear that. I just think Jalen Adams has been in terrific form, Jarrell Martin, and I'm concerned about the Phoenix with those COVID protocols, their coach not being there, and also too hectic schedule coming off, as you say, a game on the Monday, and I think the Kings at home.
Good to see you back with me, Matty. Derek, you've got your boys, the Brisbane Bullets. They take on Adelaide.
Well, obviously, my confidence is rattled right now with respect to the Bullets. Look, they're showing signs, but then they're showing some real bad signs as well. They've got pounded on the boards. Adelaide will look to exploit that area as well. But I think the Bullets bounce back after losing 4 in a row.
Yeah, I think so too. I've got the Hawks at home. They host Cairns, and you'd expect them to be able to get it done. Well, every game's critical now for the Hawks if they're going to be able to get in that top echelon, and Gorge will have them fired up for a big W. Matty, you have Melbourne after that shock loss to the JackJumpers. They host Perth. That's a challenge.
It is a challenge. I'm still recovering from that loss for Melbourne United. Perth, but they're still the gold standard, I think. But I'm going to stick with Melbourne United. I think they can hit back. They'll be filthy with that loss to the JackJumpers, and I expect a response. I expect more from Chris Goulding, and I expect more on the defensive end, and I'll win a close one.
D, who you got in that one?
I'm going
Melbourne
with Perth.
United.
I think the Wildcats are just playing so consistently right now. They had that one little hiccup, but look, they're looking very strong, Shane. I got Perth knocking off Melbourne, sending Melbourne into a little skid.
Okay, I'm with Matty on that one. I've gone Melbourne, but with no confidence. Southeast Melbourne for you, D. They take on the JackJumpers, the hottest team in the competition. Can you believe we're saying that?
Well, I cannot, and I don't know why you're so excited about that. There's no chance that the JackJumpers win this game. It's got to end at some point. But I will say I like their style. They are under control. They play with intelligence, and they do and focus on what they do best, Shane. And we always talk about that being a winning attribute.
All right, and I'm going back to you with this one, D. Sydney, they host Brisbane. Are you back on the bandwagon for Sydney yet? What's your thoughts on the Kings?
Oh, man. I was on them to beat Tasmania, but I'm really unsure. The team's a bit wishy-washy. I put them in the same kind of bracket with the Brisbane Bullets. You know, they show signs of being able to be a playoff contender, and then they fall flat at the biggest challenge. But I think they win this game over Brisbane.
But for both of you guys, is Jalen Adams the best point guard in the competition if you put Bryce Cotton as a 2?
It's very close.
Oh, I think he's the best
enough
point
game
guard.
time.
I think he's the best. I mean, Bryce is a better overall player, But in terms of being the best point guard and being able to do for others, there's no doubt Jalen Adams is outstanding. But he's got to turn like a game the other night, Shane. That can't be a loss if you're a legitimate contender.
Yeah, I think he's going to continue to get better as the season goes on, and if the Kings get another import. But good luck to you guys, because I'm coming. I'm not staying on the bottom for much longer.
Time for points made. Thanks to Bet with Joel. We're talking NBA as always. Guys, Norman Powell was traded from the Blazers for Keon Johnson, Eric Bledsoe, and Justice Winslow. CJ McCollum looks like he's the next one to go. Dame Lillard, it feels like they are trying to rebuild around him. Is he prepared to do that? D, what have you made of this entire situation?
Well, I mean, Portland was very generous to the Los Angeles Clippers in giving away Norman Powell like that. He is a terrific player. And in fact, in today's game, he's looking really good already for the Clippers. Now, Dame Lillard, he's got to go. They can't build around him. I can't see Lillard being happy there. He's made all the right comments about being loyal to the program and all that, but he needs to look after himself now. Get out of there. You know where I'd love to see him go? I'd love to see him go team up with Luka. That would alleviate a lot of the physical burden on him on the offensive end. And Dallas have a perfect piece to send back to Portland in Jalen Brunson and a few others. Luka, Dame, that's my backcourt.
Do you think, on that, D, do you think that Luka's prepared to play with another superstar and give up a whole lot of usage?
He's got to be. And, you know, it's funny because if you watched him when he was at Real Madrid, he was so good away from the ball. And, you know, the more you can do away from the ball, as we're finding out with guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, it gives you career longevity. It provides more versatility to your offensive game, and it makes everybody else in your team feel included in the offensive process.
But we know that. It would be great for Luka and for Dallas, but does he know that? Because he's getting the stats and, you know, the notoriety and everything else of being able to put up those sort of numbers. He might not know that, D.
He has to know it. He is a basketball genius, Luka Doncic. He knows very well what he needs to do. But I agree with you. Sometimes the lure of the big dollars and the success and everything clouds our better
He'll know
judgment.
it in 3 or 4 or 5 years of losing. That's when he'll know it. But I agree.
Exactly.
It would be good.
We love Luka here on the Basketball Show. Of course, guys, he'll be in Cleveland in a couple of weeks' time for All-Star Weekend. They've redesigned the Kobe Bryant Trophy. They've also revealed their NBA All-Star rings. Hammer, what do you make of the rings? Do you like them? Are you a fan?
Well, you know, I hate All-Star Weekend altogether. You know, I hate it. It's just, I mean, I love the fact that...
Nice attitude. Nice
I love
approach.
the fact that guys can be rewarded for making the All-Star game. That's fantastic. But let's be honest. I mean, the game itself is just trash. It's rubbish. I would rather see them get a ring if you win the All-Star game. And maybe they start actually playing proper basketball and a little bit harder. I love the three-point shootout, but I'm just old and grumpy. You know that, D.
Yeah, I've been watching the NBA All-Star game since 1973, Joe. Okay? And it was a great spectacle back then. Guys played hard, but then as we got into the 2000s, the money's too big. Look, I'd be chilling in that game also, Shane. This ain't the NBL where we played hard in the All-Star game. And the NBA is a different thing. And that trophy, by the way, is a great honor to Kobe. Kobe won more All-Star game MVPs than any other player in NBA history. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to watch it just for the presentation of the Kobe Bryant trophy for the first time ever.
Let me know how it goes.
Hammer, old and grumpy. You've never said anything more true in your life.
That I'm old and grumpy, or about the All-Star? I reckon I'm right on both, Joe. I know.
You're old and grumpy.
Yeah.
Somebody else who old and grumpy. No, the segue doesn't work. Anyway, we're talking about James Harden. Is he the big trade chip with the 10th of February coming up? There's been talk that he could be at Philly and there could be a swap there with Ben Simmons. D, where do you see him going?
Let me jump in here, Joe, because Derek was the one who's saying, James Harden, mate, you're too hard on James Harden. He's going to go and win a championship now with the Nets. I just want to get an update, mate, on your boy James Harden.
Look, unlike your little life down in Cronulla, the world around us is always evolving, okay? You live in a bubble where things are fairly static. Okay, there's a lot going on. Kyrie hasn't been able to play like he thought, like James thought he was going to be able to play this season. So with the different circumstances, Harden's changed his whole position on this. He wants to go. Apparently, he doesn't even like living in Brooklyn, which I find hard to believe. But, hey, that's a personal choice. If he wants to get out, he wants to get out. And Daryl Morey is going to make this happen, no doubt about it. It's time for everybody to put it all behind them, make the deal, let's move on.
Okay, so the thing I'm hearing out of that it didn't work, it was never going to work, and he was part of the reason, like I said at the start. But I'm not sure that he's a great fit in Philly as well. I'm not sure that Embiid, with the sort of basketball he's playing, wants to play with dribble Harden and play that style anymore. But I do think the Nets, if they were able to get Simmons, that would be a great piece for them, because I think that Ben really fits what they need with that defensive mindset. Obviously, he's not going to take any threes. He's going to try and finish closer to the basket. And I think they'll get a hungrier Ben Simmons that would be able to make a difference, and the pieces around him would actually give them a chance to compete at the end of the season.
That sounds very good. And thanks for participating today, Shane, but I clearly won this session. You're able to review this process if you like.
I'll get back to you in 8 weeks, mate. I'll get Basketball Australia to adjudicate.
That is points made. Thanks to Bet with Joel. Shout out to Joel as well. He obviously gives amazing tips on sport. He's given me tips on a few places to go and find some very good cocktails here in Vegas. So thank you.
I can say, Joe, I'll give you a tip. You are very excited to get downstairs, frock up and get those high heels, because you just haven't been yourself today. You haven't been able to concentrate.
What are you talking about, Shane? Jill's done a tremendous job. She's the MVP of the show today. Have you spent more than 36 hours in Vegas?
She is that excited. She's doing it with a hangover. Word has it she got home at 6 o'clock and doing very well, Joe. Good luck tonight.
I've barely slept. All right. Dee, thanks so much. Catch ya.
Bye-bye.
Hammer, that's all we've got time for. It's been fun, but I've got places to be.
You've been in a hurry today, Joe. You got the high heels on yet?
Not quite. They're at the door, ready to go.
We saw the robe in the background. So enjoy your night, have a good time, and stay safe.
I will. Thank you guys all for watching as well. As always, thank you to TCL Mobile, 2K, and Bet with Joel. Hammer, I'm not here next week, but I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
We're finding a replacement. It's going to be hard to do. Vote.
Have a good one. All right, I'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.